Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die, where my goal is to give you evidence that although our bodies will disappear, we survive physical death. When we aren't afraid of death, I think we're less afraid in life. And from these episodes, my aim for all of us is that we learn to take more risks in life, be courageous, go after our dreams, have great relationships, and have a lot of fun in the process. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And I do have one favor to ask before we start. If these interviews and episodes make a difference for you, would you take a minute and just put a review or a rating on iTunes? Why I ask is that the way iTunes works is the more ratings and reviews, whether positive or negative, the more visibility the show gets. And many of us know there are millions of people around us all right now who have lost a loved one, who may be grieving very deeply, and to just hear that there's a show like this and hear one episode might really make a difference in their life. So if you have a minute and you can go to iTunes and just type in We Don't Die and leave a review, that would be so appreciated. So on for another great episode. Today I'm excited to introduce you to a brand new friend, and I say brand new because we only first met voice to voice just a couple of minutes ago, and his name is Stephen Frederick Macek. He is not only an attorney, but he's also a medium, and I'm very interested to hear how one has both careers. Stephen's originally from Providence, Rhode Island, and now living in Massachusetts. So, Stephen, welcome to We Don't Die radio show.
Well, Sandra, thank you, and good morning, and I am just so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy too. For our listeners, I have a wonderful business coach named Elix, and Stephen is married to Elix. And I have heard from Elix when I'm on the phone with him that Stephen keeps getting some feelings that there's father energy around. And so for me, I think, you may or may not have heard any of the shows before, but my dad had died from cancer. And right before he passed, one of the things I asked him was, is there anything else? Is there anything you want to do, anything you need to say? And one thing he said is, I had a regret that he said, I wanted to write a book with you. And so I feel very deeply that after my dad passed, my book was written in 6 weeks, and I don't think I was alone in that. I think a lot of the real powerful life messages and inspiration came through me, but ultimately from him. So I think my dad is my business partner in making a difference and helping people believe that we don't die. So I think Stephen was picking up on some of the dad energy. So Stephen, why don't you tell me, well, tell all of us a little bit who you are, and I'd love to hear, you're an attorney, obviously, but then how the heck does one go from attorney to medium? Can you tell us a little bit about your story and why you believe we don't die?
Well, I have to say that growing up in Providence, Rhode Island, I was just a regular kid. I knew when I was younger I wanted to be an attorney. And when I was young, I was 8 years old, my dad passed. And up until this point, right to present time, I don't remember too much before he passed. I know it's a little crazy because I was 8 years old, but there's just snippets of memories I have, but not much more. And it was difficult. It was my mom and my brother, and the three of us were together and stayed together. My mom did an amazing job bringing us up, never remarried. She just said her two boys were her number one priority. She did an incredible job. And but one of the interesting things that I never knew when I was growing up was that I always had or felt I had a connection to my dad, even though physically he wasn't here. And a good example is that my mom and my brother would go, on the anniversaries, on birthdays, and in between to the cemetery to bring flowers. And when I was old enough to make my own decision to not go, I wouldn't go. And my mom and my brother would always get on me. My brother would say, that's disrespectful. You have to come to the cemetery. And I just knew that I didn't need to go to the cemetery. I just could speak to him at any point I wanted to, and he was always with me. So just going through life, I would get some amazing connections. When I moved to Massachusetts in the early 90s, out of nowhere, I got I think it was a credit card application sent to my house, but addressed to William J. Macek, my dad, which was just unbelievable. And there were just a lot of examples that showed me that he was here and watching over me. When we, in the early 90s, we went to pick my mom up to go out to take her to dinner, and Elix walked out first, and then I was coming out, and when I came out, there was a balloon that was just laying on the cement, and it happened to be my dad's anniversary. And it was a blue balloon just sitting. It had no helium in it, just sitting. And as I walked out, I looked at Elix and said, "Where did that come from?" And he's like, "I wasn't there when I just walked by." And then my mom came out, and we were just looking at it. My mother said, "Where did that come from?" And I said, "I don't know." And something just made me feel that this was my dad. And I said, Ma, it's Dad's anniversary. I think it's possibly him. And as soon as I said that, Sandra, the balloon just lifted from the ground like someone put a full tank of helium in it, and the balloon just started rising. I grabbed it, and then the three of us went into my mom has a big yard, and we just said a little prayer, and we let it go, and it went up straight through to the sky until we couldn't see it anymore.
Wow.
And that's just kind of one of the examples of the connection I always had with my dad.
That's beautiful.
It was incredible.
Wow, you just gave me goosebumps with that one.
Yeah, it really was. Ironically, that's all I had. And to be honest, Sandra, I thought that, I guess as a little boy, I thought this is the way this is the way it's supposed to be. Like, I lost my dad when I was young, so everyone that's a young child that loses their parents are connected with them. So I just thought that's just the way it is. I never thought anything above and beyond that until 2010, Elix and I went here in Massachusetts. We went to see an amazing medium, and right before she was about to start her readings, she walked up to me and Elix, and she just looked at me and said, "You're a medium." And I just looked at her and then looked at Elix, just dumbfounded, like, she's going to be talking about the wrong person. And after that, once it was almost like she put the switch on, and after that happened, once Spirit knew that I knew that possibly I was a medium. And you have to remember, I mean, I hadn't even started law school yet at that stage, and I finished college, I was working, but I had a regular, normal life as everybody else does. And but strange things started happening. Now that I think of it, no, I was already practicing as a lawyer, because this was 2010. In any case, just very interesting, amazing things. And just a very quick example, that year in June, our doorbell had been broken for a number of years, and every time you pressed it, it was one of those computerized doorbells that you could, I think there were like 6 different options for different theme songs, like Christmas songs or whatever the holiday was. And it must have been a couple of years it was broken, so anytime you rang the doorbell, it would say install cover. It was the little computerized voice that would say that. And on my birthday, I was upstairs, and one of the neighbors rang the doorbell just to come in to say happy birthday. And when the doorbell rang, lo and behold, the happy birthday song came on. And Sandra, was so excited. Cannot believe Elix actually did this for my birthday.
Right.
And I came flying downstairs and said to Elix, and I was just about to say to him, thank you so much for doing that, but I saw his face, and I said, "Did you fix the doorbell?" He said, "Stephen, I have not touched that." The rest of the day, Sandra, because we had a very small gathering for my birthday, every time the doorbell rang, the birthday song came on, and the following morning, sometime in the morning, and it was early because both of us were very, very, just very excited to go down and ring the doorbell, it was back to install cover.
Oh,
so
my.
That's just of these just incredible things that were happening to me that I had no idea why. And it just has been an incredible path so far since this happened. And Elix also, because of everything that was happening, Elix gave me a class that was a 16-week class on mediumship, and it was amazing. And then I did another 18-week and became certified as a medium, certified as a clairvoyant, and Spirit is with me 24 hours a day. When I wake up to when I go to bed, Spirit is with me, and it has been the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me.
I looked through some of the stuff on your website and on your Facebook page, and there's really beautiful letters that people have sent to you about the difference your words made for them and things that you couldn't possibly know, and how specific you've been with them. And so, I think a lot of people kind of poo-poo mediums and say, oh, it's not possible. And, truthfully, I was one of those skeptics way back when until I started, not a practicing medium, but I took a weekend course in mediumship, just enough that gave me a taste that, oh my gosh, this is real. So so kudos to you for really taking the courses you've had and learning how to do it and using it and to make a difference, because what is the difference you see in with a client who comes to you, most certainly grieving the loss of a loved one, and how do they leave you?
Well, I'll tell you just the one memory that comes into mind, which was 2 days ago, that we took Elix's mom and aunt, because they're here from Puerto Rico visiting,
Hmm.
to the Arnold Arboretum, which is beautiful. We wanted to show them, and we stopped in the visitors center. And as they were just walking around before we started our journey into seeing all those beautiful plants and bushes. The woman that was working behind the desk was very helpful, and as soon as I walked up to her, her dad came to me and just kept telling me, you've got to tell my daughter I'm here. And in my head I'm struggling, because I know we have a time constraint, we have to keep moving, but he was just so adamant. And so I did. I told her who I was and started telling her. As soon as I mentioned, Sandra, that I'm a medium and her dad stepping forward, the tears immediately started, and it went on for probably about 10 minutes or so of just some amazing validations. And I know because she told me she was a different person from when I walked in to when I walked out. Just her getting those validations that her dad, and actually her great-grandmother, who is her dad's grandmother, also came through, and just kept talking about this. She kept showing me this teacup, and when I told the woman that was working there, she said to me that her great-grandmother was an amazing artist, and she actually painted this teacup, and she uses it every single morning. And in the mornings when she uses it, she always thinks of, she was very close to her great-grandmother. So those experiences I can't get anyplace else. I mean, I love being an attorney. I still have my business, but to see the reactions, to see the tears, to see the hugs, to give somebody that hope, and that knowing that their loved ones who have crossed are still with them, and actually see them and are there to guide them, to help them, to do whatever they can in times of distress, and for them to comfort. And I always tell anyone who I'm reading, because I do this all the time. I have my clients and that I book, but no matter where I am, Spirit's always with me. So I'm in the supermarket, whether I'm at the Arboretum, they want to speak, I'm going to give the message. And it's been certainly an amazing experience. But I think for myself, and how this has changed me in reference to now, for myself anyway, knowing that there's life after we cross. Spirit has told me, and I feel that there's no, and again, this is my opinion, there's no coincidences, there's no luck. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, and it's all connected to the universe, it's all connected to Spirit. So what that's done for me, and I hope that I do this for more people, is until I leave this earth doing readings, is that to let go of the fear that just blocks so many people from reaching their dreams, or even doing something that may be something small, but in that person's mind is a dream of theirs. And growing up with this gift that I didn't know about, and I think also with my dad's passing at 8, I've had anxiety my entire life, and so much of that is filled with fear,
Mm-hmm.
and it has removed so much of the fear, and I live in the moment from the mediumship and the spirit helping me live in the moment, and just to try to really appreciate every second that I have, but knowing that when we cross, it's not the end. It's just a whole different way I live my life now, Sandra.
Oh, Stephen, it's beautiful, and it's making me, want to kind of tell a confession to everybody right now. Is I know, first of all, that when I've had times of knowing that life after death is real, whether it's something that I studied or somebody that I've talked to or one of the experiences I've had, it's kind of a shot in the arm that gives me power, it gives me courage, it gives me, um, gosh, just a sense of peace and well-being, that even though, like, I can't see my dad, he's around, things like that. But most of my days I'm busy working, I'm busy doing something else, and it's not in the forefront that this is real. So I am just as human as everybody else. And today I shared with you is would have been my dad and my grandmother's birthday. My grandma had dad on her 18th birthday, and so they're celebrating their birthday in heaven. And today is typically a day I can be very sad. And it's interesting because even though I wrote the book We Don't Die, and even though I've done so much, it's hard for me to keep it alive for myself on a daily basis. So definitely one of the reasons I started doing this radio show is to help other people, but quite honestly, it's to help myself as well. And I think, like for you, doing medium readings wherever you are, whether it's a client or you're somewhere in a grocery store and you get spirit coming through to the person standing in line with you, I don't think you can ever escape the fact that we don't die and that life is for a bigger reason. And honestly, if we can create something that more people realize this on a daily basis, I think it can fuel us to live a better life and to realize that fear is just an illusion. I mean, fear can be such a stopper, and just, we hear stories of people that their last moments before they pass away or before they go into a major surgery, all they have is fear, all they have is regret, the things that they did say or didn't say or should have done or shouldn't have done. And, what would it be like to those final moments in our life to just be like, yeah, I did it. I did what I wanted. Yep, said what I wanted. I've had a great life. Like what a gift that would be, right?
Absolutely, and the thing is that nobody, for the most part, we just don't know how long our journey here
No.
is going to be. So to remove, even if it's just a portion of that fear, allows us to open that door a little crack and to move forward. And what a lot of people don't realize is that once you step through that little crack, it just opens the door completely and brings you to a new world. But I have to say that I think the biggest thing I have received from doing this is just the happiness to know that when I do the readings, I'm so passionate about, and I just love people's reactions. But when I'm done and I'm either heading home or I am home, just the feeling of knowing that I have a whole army with me that physically is not here, but spiritually is all around me, which are my loved ones and the spirit that I have just channeled are all with me. It's just an incredible feeling, and I know a lot of mediums say this, but I certainly agree that everybody has this gift at different levels, and I think just being open to it is just one step, just to be able to see more signs that our loved ones are sending down, and just one sign can bring so much comfort. Just one, to know that someone who has crossed that was so close to you is still here. I think it's just an incredible thing for someone to experience by themselves, or to someone
Hmm.
experience with a reading, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's devastating to lose a loved one. It is devastating, and even no matter how much we believe or have faith, I mean, it still hurts. I think, I don't just think, I've done a lot of work into the world of grief and the stuff that happens within our bodies, but I know beyond a shadow of a doubt to really believe and know that your loved one is still around can really alleviate a whole bunch of the grief. Stephen, I wanted to ask you, well, first two questions. One, you said you have an army around you. Do we all have an army of loved ones around us?
Oh, absolutely. Well, whether you believe it or not, you have every single person has the people that they've lost, that have crossed over, that again was family, whether it's friends, there's guides, there's angels, absolutely. And that's one of the things I know when I do readings. I always tell people to make sure they are aware not only that their loved ones are with them, but to talk to them, because I think that's one of the biggest things that Spirit tells me all the time when I'm channeling and they're talking to me, is that they love when you talk to them. And unfortunately, you can't hear a response back, but I think it's so important to know that when you speak to them and talk to them, they not only hear, but they love it, because it certainly makes them feel on the other side that it's still the same relationship. And ultimately, I've had a woman who I read, and she emailed me maybe about a month afterwards saying that it's also changed her perspective, that she thought it was at first when I started the reading and I brought that up, she thought it was, well, would I really do that? Would I actually talk to them? And from the month period of time, said that she's not only speaking verbally or mentally to, it was her mom that she was really close to, but she swears she hears her back. And I said, it's not swearing, you do. And
Right.
she's getting more signs, and she's feeling more, just feeling her mom more, which that was one of the things that she came in and sat down and said, why don't I feel my mother? Why don't I feel her? Why don't I have any signs? So it's so answering your question, Sandra, yes, everybody has them, everybody.
And the more we talk to them, it's possible the more signs we'll get. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And I think the number one thing also is that when people come in and they just are so fixated on wanting a sign, why don't I feel the person? Why don't I receive any signs? And I always say just relax and just try to let that go, because when you do that, you put up a wall, and you're blocking the signs. The signs are always coming, and I truly believe that. Spirit does an exceptional job to give spirits all the time, because they want you to know that they're here. Their goal, when we are crossed, our loved ones who have crossed, their goal is that they want you to live the best life and the happiest life you can while you're here. So they want to help with that. And when, like you said, Sandra, earlier, when you lose someone, it's devastating. So what they want to do is they want to try to repair and heal from where they are. So that they're always giving signs. And from just my experience, when I do have that conversation and say, just step back and just tell them that whenever they're ready to give you signs, and ultimately it generally usually happens that
Oh,
people
that's
either I'll see them or they'll email me. I get a lot of follow-up via email, and to tell me that you talked about the feathers, and I walked out and there was a feather on the front step. I have no idea how it got there, and it's my first sign, and that just gives me the best satisfaction, Sandra, I can possibly imagine.
And I like that you said that, Stephen, about talking to them because so many people have asked, because I believe in life after death, do you talk to your dad? And I wish I could say, oh yeah, all the time, but I haven't. I haven't made that a practice. And this morning, being it was their birthday, the first thing I did when I woke up is I always reach over and look at my iPhone for emails because I'm addicted. But I see, it's the 28th of August, and I just closed my eyes and I took a minute and I pictured Grammy and Dad right in front of me, and I sang to them happy birthday. And I don't know, it's my
It, it,
special
it,
thing, but
it's Yeah, and when you do that, Sandra, it may just sound like a concept that may not bring you um, what you want, but when you start doing it, it's amazing how much it brings you, even more than you even expected.
yeah. Now, I have maybe a dumb question, but when you say people are always around us, um, it can also seem like, uh, um, they're always watching us. They're, like there is no privacy. Is there something else going on in heaven for them that they're not? I mean, they can be by our side, but there's also like, are they busy in heaven and then they're here when we need them? Or, like somebody wrote a book called Do Dead People Watch Me in the Shower, which I think is very funny, but it's asking a very real question. It's like, do I have privacy? You know?
Oh, absolutely. And people have absolutely asked me that also. And all I can tell you is that when I am channeling spirit, or the feelings I get is that their ultimate goal is just to get us to be in a better place and to be in a happy place and a comfort. So there's never any conversations about the shower or being there in intimate moments. It certainly it doesn't work that way. And to be honest, when spirit comes through, Sandra, it never even comes in to the communication, to my mind, because their sole goal is really just to do what they can on that side to make their loved ones know that they're still here, they're still with them, and they're guiding and loving and loving and loving. So
Yeah.
it's not a stupid question because people ask me that all the time. But if I'll tell you, if a spirit ever tells me that, I definitely will let you know.
Okay. What do they, how do they come through to you? Do you see them? Do you hear messages? Is there something that's happening in your mind's eye? Um, because what,
It is, and certainly it's grown since this all started. That I just would get feelings, and it's also shifted in the small period of time I've been doing this. It's actually shifted in the sense that lately I've been actually seeing in my mind like watching a movie, a very short clip of a movie, which I still haven't connected that to anything, but it's just it's something new. But it's all in my mind's eye, and even when I'm hearing and seeing visions or symbols, it's all in my mind's eye. It's, as you probably know, Sandra, it's for anyone who is a medium. It's I think it's the number one most difficult thing to try to explain to someone. Because I think if this was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would be listening to a medium, and if they were trying to explain it to me, I don't think I would. I'm not sure how much I would understand, but that's how it works. It's in my mind's eye, and it's also feelings too. It's not always just symbols or hearing stuff. It's just it's feelings that they give me, and also when I'm doing a reading, a booked reading. Generally, I have a notebook too because I write things down and just from what I'm either feeling or getting from spirit. So
yeah, yesterday I got my hair cut, and as I was lying there and getting my hair shampooed, the woman was a real chatty Cathy. She was really nice, but she just, where are you from? What do you do for work? And going on and on and on and on. So I always tell people first my day job because it's, I still have fear, right? And I'm a chef. I work with race car teams. So that's what I do. And she was all excited and like cook for Patrick Dempsey, the actor, and all this stuff. And then there was like this quiet moment and she's shampooing my head and I was really wanted to veg out and I hear this voice in my head saying, tell her about the book, right? So I don't know who said it or why, but it's like, oh, geez, okay. And then I just said, and I'm also an author, and it's like throwing out the bait because then she said, well, what did you write? And I said, well, it's called We Don't Die. And she looks at me and, and either people are going to engage and say, want to know more, or they'll say, oh, well, that's great, and go on to another subject. But she wanted to know more, and come to find out, her brother had recently died, and there's a lot of grief and a lot of pain in her family. And, at the end of the haircut, I always have books on me, and I went out to the trunk of my car and I gave her one. But there is something, there's like this, whether it's a voice, but there was something that said she needed to know. And then I think there's also something, for me too, that, I'm very often afraid to tell people what else I'm up to. I don't know why, but it's there. But when I step through that, like this wonderful opening occurred both for her and for me, and now I have a new hairdresser. So that's something about stepping through our fears. There's always something good on the other side. Stephen, I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but Elix had told me that you had said that there's father energy that's coming through. And you don't have to give me a medium reading on air, but is there anything that you can share just about my dad kind of being with me on the process, or I don't know, it's just anything? Like it just keeps coming up that I'm afraid to
Yeah,
ask
no,
you about my
absolutely.
dad,
Well, one
but
thing,
also I want to know, is there, because I miss him. I do.
and what I wanted to tell you, Sandra, before I even get there, is that you just used a perfect example of a spirit communication and your loved ones talking to you. In that example you just used about
Hmm.
tell her about the book. That's not just in your head. That's a help from spirit. So and I think once people understand and know that that's a message, then that opens also the door for more messages to come forward. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm sure you probably knew that, but I know the couple of times you spoke to Elix, as soon as he hung up, and even the first time before I even knew who you were, who he was talking to, and then of course he explained. I said, you have to find out if her dad's passed. I said, because the dad energy was just really energetic and wanted to speak. And I think a second time it was the same thing that I found out he was talking to you, and it was your dad's energy and your grandmother. But there's your grandfather, and I don't know if this is your grandmother's that has her birthday today, her husband, if he's passed, but there's a grandfather who keeps saying, let's not just focus on, he's funny, let's not just focus on the birthdays today, on, your dad and your grandmother, because there is hello, you have a grandfather too.
Yeah, Grampy. I haven't seen him since I was 16, 15, 16.
Yeah, well, and know that he's also stepping forward. That he also wants to be part of it. But it's interesting when you talk about. Obviously, I know before we spoke that you wrote the book, and it was interesting when you talked about, which I didn't know about, you writing this book in feeling like your dad helped out, because right before we were you called me, and your dad's been with me all morning. He kept talking about. And I'm not sure why I have this whole book of library of symbols, but when I see the letter I, it's either this someone who's connected to you that has the letter I in their first name or last name. I'm not sure if that's it, or for whatever reason, I is also a symbol for punctuation. So I don't know what your dad is saying when you wrote this book. I don't know if there were I don't know, that there was some kind of issue with punctuation or doing the punctuation, but your dad he's a hoot, and he just kept bringing up the punctuation. So hopefully, think about it. I'm not sure if
there's some typos in the book, so maybe that's got something to do with it.
well, it definitely absolutely could be, because it was something that he just wanted to bring up very, very lightly, and just in a great in a great way, and that he's with you and your grandmother as well as your grandfather. But Sandra, they also keep giving me the number 3. So when I see number 3, it's either 3. There's 3 siblings. There's three grandkids, or it's the month of March, because March is the 3rd month, or the 3rd of a month. So keep that in your head, either in. I'm not sure if this is in reference to 3 kids, or it's the month of March there's a birthday or an anniversary in March.
There are 3 siblings, and also I keep seeing the number 3, 333, 33, and I haven't done any work to see what that means, but I also have this instinct that when I see that number, and I mean I see 333 all over the place, that it just reminds me that I'm not alone in this world, that I do have the unseen Grammy and Dad, and I'm on the right path. Like that's what I take it
Sandra,
as.
I love it, and you know what? That's just a validation that your dad wanted to for you to have, to know that when you're seeing the 333, these threes, it's just knowing that it's directing you to see these 3s because they're with you. At that point, at the second you see those 3s, is when their energy, their souls are with you. So no, it's not just a coincidence, as I say, and my perspective, I don't believe in coincidences, know that when you see those threes, and I think it's really really cool too that there's three siblings, which of course I didn't know, that it's your loved ones who have passed, specifically your dad. Your dad is with you day in and day out, and I say to Elix had an aunt who's passed and was like his mom. He was, other than his mom, it was the closest person he was with, and she passed in '92. She's here all the time in this house. I told Elix she lives in this house because she wants to be with him, and your father's making me feel the same connection that I get from Elix and his aunt is the same connection that your dad's given me with you.
That
Meaning
makes
that,
me really, really happy.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. But one of the things too that I know that you have the two birthdays today, but one of them, and I think it's your grandmother telling me that there's something else. What else that's connected to you, Sandra, that just passed or is coming up that's either a birthday or an anniversary? There's something else.
I have to look. I don't know off the top of my head.
It's I don't know if it's when you say there's three kids. It's you and two siblings.
Yeah, no, there's three siblings besides me. I have a brother and two sisters.
Okay. Do they have a birthday or an anniversary that just passed or is coming up? There's
My
something.
sister,
Oh, go ahead.
my sister's birthday, September 19th. My grandmother passed away August 21st, which just happened. I don't know if
Okay, so
that's any
just know
anniversary
that.
date, but
And just know that it was your grandmother, and I think I mentioned I thought it was your grandmother. She just wants she wants to validate that it's her, so you know it's her, and that her anniversary just passed on August 21st.
mm,
Because she kept saying to me, it's just interesting when I see the bouquet of flowers, they're telling me bring up the birthday or the anniversary. But if I've already brought that up, and we've already obviously talked about your dad and your grandmother's
right.
birthday, then the spirit is so amazing to separate that. Then I see balloons, and I know balloons mean the same thing as the flowers, but they're trying to tell me no, there's something more. And your grandmother kept bringing the balloons up, so she just wants to validate that it was her anniversary. And again, all of these validations, Sandra, as probably you're aware, are to let you know that they're here, that they're actually, it's them, it's your dad, it's your grandmother, it's your grandfather, and watching over you. And your dad just keeps saying how proud, how proud, how proud. But your grandfather also says the same thing. And I know you said you haven't seen him
Since I
because
was a
you must have been,
teenager, yeah.
yeah, very young when that happened. But and I don't know if this is you, but your dad keeps bringing me to tires to a car. So I don't know if something just happened with tires or
Yeah,
what is that?
yesterday I had a nail in my tire and I got it
Yeah, so your dad just wants you to
fixed.
know that he was there and watched over to make sure that nothing really severely
That's
happened with the tire, but
that's
just
pretty
know
funny.
that your dad actually is like trying to keep all. You got a lot. We're gonna have to do this out of this interview so I can
Yeah.
do a full reading.
Okay,
Because you have a
definitely.
lot of people coming through, but your dad is holding them at bay, saying, "Hey, this is my time." Your dad is funny. Your dad is really funny. I love him. His
I
energy is terrific.
I love that about the tire. And yeah, Dad was somebody in his life that he was a cancer survivor from 30 years ago, and when he got that second chance in life, he really made his life about making a difference with other people. So he's a good guy. Really, really, really a good guy. And Stephen, there's been a whole bunch of like pain and suffering after he died. I have you hear about the families that split after a parent dies and all the fights and stuff. And so one of my big passions was to find out in the grieving process, what happens that turns loving families into monsters against each other. And I found out a lot about grief. I found out a lot about how our brain works and our the chemicals in our brain and how we actually lose part of our memory banks and our communication center isn't right. And it explained a lot for the fights and the arguments and things like that. But I still have unresolved issues with my own siblings in my own life. And on one hand, it does cause me a lot of pain, but on the other hand, somehow I use it to empower myself that I'm just a representative of millions of families that have come apart, and it's my job every way I can. And this radio show is truthfully another way, is to shed the light on the subject. And I tell listeners I have a free download, free audio called survivegrief.com, and you listen for 70 minutes and you find out, how it all happens in our brain. And there's been a lot of families that have healed. There's been suicides that haven't happened, all because of knowing about grief. So, on one hand, I think that it's all for a reason. And I know there's a lot of us currently that still do have a lot of pain. I don't know where exactly I'm going with that, but I just wanted to
Well,
say that.
it certainly it makes sense. It definitely makes sense, and I think from what I've experienced so far with spirit and this whole mediumship thing and given readings is that once you get to a place of again understanding spirit, your perspective completely just changes. And I don't mean just about spirit. I mean about your even your day-to-day life and your perspective on family and friends. And if there are conflicts, it all changes the perspective. And ultimately, I think it just will help resolve. It certainly doesn't resolve everything. I understand that, but it definitely resolves things that I truly believe wouldn't be resolved if you didn't really get to the point of understanding and knowing that our loved ones are still around and certainly helping. And I always tell people, when you need help, ask your loved ones and ask them to guide you, and it works. It definitely works. So I think
Thanks.
it's all connected, Sandra. What you're saying is all connected.
It is, and I don't necessarily have all the answers, nor do I pretend to, but I do know, and I think you're going to agree with this, is that we've all had really painful things happen in our life. And we may be going through some of those painful things right now, but if we're to look back on our life and look to see where we are now, some of those most critical, painful, awful things, we've learned, we've grown, we've become bigger people, we have made our life about helping others, or, certainly we're giving more. So out of some pain really can come maybe even your life's purpose. I never thought I'd go from chef to being an author to now talking about life after death. Like, never was that ever
Yeah.
even close. But now I'm so passionate about helping people. So if you are listening right now and you're going through some turmoil or some tough times or some pain, I wish I had the answer. I don't. But look to see that maybe there is some growth for your soul coming out of it. And certainly there will be a day in the future, and I'm positive of this, that you'll be looking back knowing you needed this time because you got something really great out of it. Or even you, Stephen, I think you having this gift of mediumship, uh, from being an attorney, which I know you still are, but now giving, like, I'm guessing you live just a whole incredible other life, knowing that one session with you or one conversation with you, or even somebody may never even call you directly, but just listening to you today can really put somebody on a better path in their life. And that's an awesome
Yeah, I
feeling.
hope so, Sandra.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so, and I know that this has helped me so immensely in the lawyering also, because previously things that would, like any profession, you always have some people who are just not nice in the profession, and it
Right.
used to get me just really upset. And now it's a whole different way. I just look at it and I just have it roll off my back, and I still do whatever reaction I had to get things done. I still do, but it's a whole different mindset now, that it doesn't just make me get so upset and have that last with me, and it takes up so much energy, and it just time frame that we never get back. So it's a whole different world now, and what I still love is that even though I am lawyering, I still have such great opportunities to do individual readings and group readings, and I got to be honest that I love the lawyering, but it doesn't, again, compare to doing a reading for someone. It just doesn't.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm assuming you do telephone readings.
I do. I
Yeah.
do in person or telephone
Okay.
readings,
Not everybody
and
can
not.
get to Massachusetts to see you. So, or maybe they can, but just not right away. Stephen, we're getting close to our time, but is there anything else that you want to share? Because you got the floor that might make a difference for somebody in their life, maybe something we haven't covered or something you want to repeat or just anything.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sandra. I think that the last thing I would like to really hone in on is for people just to realize that their loved ones who have crossed are still with them, just in a different way, maybe just not physically, but they're still with them. And whether, and I always talk about when you're distressed, but it also works when you're having the best news and your dreams are coming true, to be able to include your loved ones who have crossed and share that with them. And whether it's a great thing or whether it's a very dark time, I certainly guarantee you that it will be better, and it definitely will help the situation, whether it's a bad situation or whether it's a good situation. Because just to know that the loved ones that have crossed are still with us, I think is an incredible, amazing way to live your life.
Yeah. Hey, this just came to me. Is there a practice we can put in? Because, like, it took me everything years ago when the dentist said I'll be losing teeth if I don't start flossing. That I mean, I floss now. I floss. I don't miss a day with flossing. But is there some kind of a practice we can put in that will make it that we can talk to our loved ones daily? Like, is there anything you can think of? Because I would like this morning, I got up and wished Grammy and Dad happy birthday, but I honestly don't make it a practice of talking to them. But is any tips you can give for that?
Yeah, you know what? I think that the best tip, Sandra, is that for anybody at any point of the day, Spirit doesn't care. Spirit doesn't care if you're in the shower, driving, working. I always tell the people that I read that if you can take just, even if it's 30 seconds, just to sit in a place by yourself and just breathe a couple of times and just kind of calm your mind. And at that point, even if it's just to say, hi, Mom, or I know you're here with me, Dad, I think just that alone will just bring anybody to a better place, and it just will keep getting better and better. So I don't think it matters where you are, as long as you have that 30 seconds, 1 minute, 10 seconds. I think it will certainly help your day, and it will help the way you feel.
Yeah, and also some of those times that we need a little courage or we have fear is to just visualize that we do have our group of loved ones and angels and spirit guides right behind us, that we're never truly alone. I think that can empower us and, stepping out of our comfort zone. I always end the show, I'll say it a little bit early, because the author Neil Donald Walsh says this: life begins at the end of your comfort zone. When we can take an action through our fear, and we end up with a new result. And I think that's really the access to having an incredible life. And we're not going to do it by doing what we always do every single day. You need the new, you need the different, and it often means stepping into some place that's a little bit uncomfortable, but realizing that your loved ones are with you, and we're not taking that step alone. It's a
Right,
huge
absolutely.
gift. Oh, Stephen, thank you so much. Um, it really, really, really has been a pleasure talking with you today, and I feel like I have a new friend out of it, and I'm excited to find out more about who else wants to talk. That's awesome.
Well, you do have a new friend, and you have no choice, because I'm not going anywhere now, Sandra. This was the best, the best time for my Thursday morning to get to speak to you, and also to hear about you and learn about you and your past and where you are now. It was a complete pleasure.
Yeah, me too. We're up to a big thing, changing the world, and having more people believe in this. And I think if we can all join arms together, I mean, we can take a lot more, reach a lot more people than doing it by ourselves. So thank you again. And also for our listener, I want to tell you I have a website called WeDon'tDieRadio.com, and every episode that I air, you can go to that website and you can find out about our guest. And our guest today was Stephen Macek, and he does have a website, Stephen Frederick Macek we-don't-die-radio.com. However, that is a lot of letters to put in. So again, if you want to go to we-don't-die-radio.com, a very nice picture of the handsome Stephen, who is very handsome, and also have his contact information on there. You are handsome. I looked at you. I'm like, ooh, he's a nice looking man.
Say, well, I think.
Yeah, well, you are. You are. And in closing, to remind everybody, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I invite each one of us today, and I do mean today, to take one action toward your dream, take one action, one step through your fear, and maybe go to bed tonight with a result that you wouldn't have normally had. So this is Sandra Champlain, and I do believe that life is an education for our soul and that our lives here on earth really are important. So thanks